Disappointed because we want to win the game, and we started the game with some good actions, a really good goal, and we knew that it was going to be a really competitive and challenging game, especially as well for the players that we have lost. But we competed. It wasn't our best day, especially with the ball in second half. We gave so many simple balls away that didn't really allow us to dominate the game, and then very disappointed as well with the way that is given the penalty. Very disappointed.
Yeah, your thoughts on the penalty, because it is an unusual penalty.
I've never seen it in my life. And Saliba touches the ball, so yeah.
No penalty for you then?
For me, no, clear, no. Yeah.
In terms of creativity, you mentioned giving away the ball a few times, but in terms of how the team created chances, what do you feel was lacking? Because there was a lack of fluidity compared to other matches.
Yeah, because we lost too many simple things that we have to do much better in the areas that after is going to allow you the next phase, and we didn't do that. We play every 3 days as well. I understand that I cannot for sure fault the effort, the intensity, how much we want it, but in terms of the quality that we deliver and the consistency and doing the simple things that have to be right against a really good team, today wasn't to the standards that requires to win the game with margins.
Well, Nwaneri's goal is definitely a positive, especially the personality he shows in that moment when Merino and Rice were doing the 1-2 and he just takes over the situation.
No, it's very good. Unfortunately, I think we lost him as well. So it's another one, but we carry on.
What happened to him?
I don't know. It's a muscular thing and we had to take him off.
Now, a point, obviously, not a good point considering the title race. How do you see that, considering that Liverpool are 5 points ahead and with 2 games in hand?
We don't know. So today we wanted to win the game. We haven't been able to do that. There are things for sure that we have to improve. Very disappointed as well with the decision. And after that, try to be better the next game.
Thank you, Mikel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take another quick look at the penalty just to clear up what Mikel Arteta was saying, which was that he thought that Saliba got the ball. And it is an unusual penalty decision. It's why he said he's never seen anything like it in his life. I don't think either of you could recall seeing a penalty given in this circumstance. But you both thought it was correctly given, and it does hit Saliba's head. So is that enough to say it's not a penalty?
I think it's a penalty, me personally. If you see some instances where a player's dribbling or inside the box and they can flick the ball first, and then the defender or the opposing player can touch the player, then the ball. But I think it's a clear penalty for me.
Alan Smith said it in commentary. Both of us, we agree. I think he definitely he heads it when he goes down. It's like you can't afford to do that in the box. You have to be so careful. I think it is a penalty.
Can you understand why he's as angry as he seemed to be?
The words used, I've never seen anything like it in my life. We have. We've seen a lot worse penalties given than that one. And I just don't think you can be as rash in your defending. Gabriel was rash initially, and I think Saliba was in that instant. Like, I could understand why there's some people would say, well, there's not a lot, and he gets the contact after. But you can't afford to touch anybody in the box. It's as simple as that. The amount of times we just see the slightest nick on a player, they go down. What is he meant to do? He gets hit on the head there. It's a foul.
The reason we interview managers so close to the final whistle is so that we get all that emotion. But what it sometimes does is it sort of hampers your ability to see things completely clearly because there's so much emotion. And a lot of what we saw from Mikel Arteta, is very possible that is frustration at those 2 points dropped.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's a hard place to go, Brighton. We know that. I think the form that Brighton were in as well, and the form that Arsenal were in before this, you probably would have had Arsenal as heavy favourites. And I think what's more, this was their performance second half. They had the game in control in the first half, and it was about, right, can we see this out? Can we get another goal to kill the game off? Hopefully. They didn't even look like they was going to create that. If not, let's not concede. Let's be composed, let's be diligent, let's be disciplined, and there wasn't that either.
And he's entitled to his opinion. It's his opinion. If he doesn't think it's a penalty, it's absolutely fine. But I think the most disappointing, and what he'll acknowledge after when he gets on the bus and probably goes back, they didn't play well. That's the facts. They haven't been really at it this year as much as what we'd expect from Arsenal. I thought they were certainties this year. I said at the start of the year, I thought, but they've gone backwards in terms of what we normally expect from them. They've got the same points as last year this time around last season, but they're not playing with the same authority. They went on a great run after that, and this is when they really found some momentum. The hard thing is for them is they haven't obviously got Saka. Odegaard isn't really hitting the form that you'd really want him to do. And they look, unless they're going to score a set piece, very difficult for them to open a team up at the moment. You know, I know that Havertz didn't play today, but they're not flying. They are not firing on all cylinders. I think the game is quite hard for them at the moment in terms of trying to unlock the door. And perhaps maybe it's a little bit of what the pressure Liverpool putting on them. Who knows? But they're not playing as well as what we'd normally expect. I'll go back to a couple of years ago, even before Declan Rice come, and that midfield of Odegaard and Partey and Xhaka was functioning so much better than any midfield that I've seen for the last couple of years from us. So they were so much more efficient in how they played. Yeah. At the moment, it's not an easy watch when you see Arsenal.
And yet, as you said, the results have been there for them over the last 12, 13 games. When you look at what Arsenal have got coming up now, and you mentioned this before the game, Steve, that the games are going to come thick and fast. It's not just necessarily about the number of games, it's about the difficulty levels of a lot of those games. With Newcastle coming up, Manchester United, who, yes, another team not firing anywhere near on all cylinders, but is still a tricky FA Cup tie. Then they've got a North London derby. Similar point with Tottenham, not necessarily firing on all cylinders, but it's a North London derby.
I think it's this time of year when you really find out the character and the personality of your squad and your team. And it's this period as well where you get through it and it's more industrial. You know, it's not free-flowing. There may be the odd game where you do it, but it's more about grinding that result out, whether that's going to be a 1-0 win or a 2-1. I think Arsenal have done that sort of for the last 2 months. It feels like they've had to just sort of really grind teams down. They're not like what James said there before about sort of that free-flowing, fluid, like red arrows they were scoring at will in previous seasons. This season it just seems to be a little bit more harder for them. And that could be a real testing time from coming up now, this next, six.
And you look at those fixtures, Steve, you normally go, OK, they're really good fixtures at home. And I remember we're looking at Chelsea's fixtures when they had a great run. You're thinking, well, Chelsea's title bid is going to be big now because the next 5 games. But all of a sudden, they look quite difficult games. You know, they've got he's going to have to balance his squad, manage it. I don't know what sort of team he's going to play against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Because right now, you're looking at it in terms of what you're setting yourself to win. That's obviously a huge chance for them. So you might want to play a slightly stronger team but you've got to manage the squad carefully.
You mentioned as well about the fact that they've had 2 days fewer rest in the build-up to this one, 2 days fewer to prepare for this one compared to Brighton. Gentle Christmas schedule, Arsenal. I mean, it wasn't too tough in terms of days between games. But recently, they have managed to put together a really good run of results. So do we need to be... I mean, Mikel Arteta has been saying it through the week. We're very quick to kind of make snap decisions on teams. Do we need to be a bit careful about putting this in context of what they've done over the past 12 games?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past 12 games. It's about the next stage now. So, and when we was playing, when you come out of January into February, you kind of got a gist of not where teams were going to be, but where you was going to be, whether you was going to be in a good sort of vein of form, personally, individually, how you're playing, or collectively as a team, where you're on the up and you're going to have a good real kick to the back end of the season. So this is vital for Arsenal. Liverpool have got to be looking at this thinking, we could blow this away come the end of January. If we just stick to our own guns, stick to what we know, we win our football games, it could be a big, healthy lead for Liverpool.
Arsenal have got to go on a Man City type of run to win the title. That's what they've got to do. They've got to look at what Manchester City have done over the last couple of years where they've hunted them down and chased them and made it so difficult. And every time that Man City would just get 3 points and just put that pressure on Arsenal. But are Arsenal capable of doing it?
Well, compared to what they did in the first half of the season and the results that they had against the teams that they've got coming up, this is how it looks. Now, what we should say is there's a lot of tough away fixtures in that from the first half of the season for Arsenal. So they're going to be playing them at the Emirates. Look how many of those teams, can you see that from there? Look how many of those teams towards the top half of the table that Arsenal have managed to come away with points from. And then they've got to play them in the second half of the season. So you'd imagine they're going to be able to improve on that set of results there.
I've got to go to Liverpool, as well, which is obviously...
They've got to go to Liverpool and they've got to go to Forest. But then from Chelsea down to West Ham, they've got all of them bar Brighton to play at home.
But that's great, and I totally get they are good fixtures, but they've got to play better than what they are. Yeah. That's the actual fact, because you can look at it on paper and go, "God, these are lovely fixtures. We're at home. You've got to make it count." They're finding it very difficult. A couple of weeks ago, Everton at home, you're thinking that is an absolute banker for them. Bournemouth dispatched to them today. They've not been able to do it. They haven't been able to unlock teams like they normally or would expect them to do, and that's why they've got to find different ways, especially about Bukayo Saka.
And, of course, they've got to hope that there is a blip for Liverpool, starting with tomorrow's game at Anfield against Manchester United. Now, look, we keep asking whether Manchester United are going to click at some point under their new manager, Ruben Amorim, who's not that new, actually, anymore. But it's a big game coming up for Liverpool and Manchester United, for both of them for different reasons. Do we see a performance here from Manchester United coming?
You have to work on the basis that, yes, from Man United's point of view, because this is the game. This is the one where you can't hide. I played enough fixtures when I was a Liverpool player, when we were the underdog, and we'd somehow find a way of beating Manchester United, turn it around, the crowd. But this one, to go to Anfield and show character, which is something we don't associate with this Man United, so I just don't see it right now. I don't see it, but you're going to have to work on the basis as you're a Liverpool setting up for that game.
Well, you look at the Manchester derby and think they've already beaten City so far this
but that was
season
a
at
City
the Etihad.
in really poor form. Right now, the way Liverpool are defending, the way they're in control in midfield, they've got forwards that can just take the game away from you like that, in Gakpo and Salah. Whoever he plays up front, Diaz is obviously in a great moment. I just don't see anything else but a Liverpool win tomorrow. And I know that fixture's tough. It always is, the atmosphere, and it gives you a totally different energy. I can't see anything else, Steve. Can you?
No, I'm exactly the same. And I think you've got to look at the basis of that you're asking these players to find a huge effort, big character, personality to go to Anfield when they are in free-flowing attack, winning games, football. So I remember Alex Ferguson used to say that he used to sign players based on could they perform away at Anfield. And I look at this Man United team at the minute, I'm looking at that going, how many of these players can really go to Anfield and pick up a result? There's not me on that team.
They're not going with Beckhams, Keane, Scholes and Giggs, are they? That's the thing, and that was what Manchester United always had, great forwards, and they had characters. And to go to Anfield and win, you've got to have big characters.
If we're going to build a bit of jeopardy into this fixture, because you've both gone for a Liverpool win here, are you maybe wondering if the Liverpool players will look at Arsenal dropping points today, look at that gap at the top of the table, which at the moment is 5 points. Tomorrow they could extend it to 8 points and still have a game in hand at the end of that. Is it maybe complacency is probably the wrong word, comfort? Maybe is that the only thing that could knock them off their stride for tomorrow's match?
I think Liverpool not even. I think going into that game, and again, I've never experienced it at all. I've spoken to players that have been involved in that game, and everything outside of that pure fixture is irrelevant. Wherever teams are in the league, whether one's chasing, whether one's not, it's purely about them two teams. And from that's for the whole 90 minutes, and then whatever the repercussions are after, whether you've won, lost, dropped points, you deal with that after. But it's purely about getting the victory, getting the 3 points.
Right, so you're not letting me have any jeopardy in this game. I'm trying to build it, and it's not coming.
I don't know where they are now. They're on the coach, going to stay in a hotel. They won't be looking forward to this game. Whereas Liverpool, right now, will be chomping at a bit. It's like one more sleep. They can't wait to get their hands on Manchester United.
Goal from João Pedro to earn Brighton a point, but you got the distinct impression they wanted and they thought they should have had more from the game.
Yeah, I think the second half they was definitely in the ascendancy to go and win the game. If there was ever two teams then that you was watching that second half performance, who's going to go and win this, you'd have said it'd been the team that was wearing a Brighton shirt. So they created the more chances. Arsenal just dropped their levels a bit, and you just against a well-drilled Arsenal team that's definitely defensively sound, it needs to be a bit of class or a mistake, hence the penalty, but they just couldn't get it over the line.
Van Hecke's analysis was interesting, particularly because you mentioned Herzl's sort of determination that the team would play with lots of energy, that they would have better legs than the opponents. And he said, actually, with this young team, maybe they need to learn to manage games a bit better.
100%, and that reflects on probably their season so far. Losing winning positions, scoring goals isn't a problem for them. Creating chances isn't a problem for them. It's when they get their noses in front. That game management, we see so many teams do it now. Spurs is another team that they get in front and they sort of let leads slip away. This is a young Brighton team, new manager, there's a lot of time to learn, but they want to progress every season, so they need to learn quickly.
Certainly in the big games though, Steve, I don't think we can really be too critical of them because Manchester City, they were losing at half-time, they turn it around, and that's why I think the manager deserves a lot of credit. He made good substitutions, brave substitutions, because you're 1-0 down against an Arsenal side where if they start to find a bit of rhythm, they could pick you apart and up 3-4-0. But they got the energy back into the game, and that was like a front four at times. They pinned Arsenal back, made it really difficult for them. You know, and I think the analysis was almost a bit unkind on this team because in terms of game management, I thought second half they were excellent. And I know their record probably isn't great. They haven't won in, I think it's 8 now, but there's only been 2 losses. And that's how you can always look at, we're not won in 8. So, so it can be, you know, the stats can obviously tell you, you know, it can lie sometimes, but I like the way they play. They've got tremendous energy. They're incredibly brave. They're slightly different to what like were last year under De Zerbi, but they're still a really good watch and always difficult. I never felt any confidence today that Arsenal win this game comfortably. I always knew it would be difficult. You could see that the rhythm of the game wasn't right for them, and Brighton make it so difficult for you.
But as you said, they had to come from a goal down to earn the point. Take us through Nwaneri's opening goal for Arsenal.
Well, Steve, they started really well, Arsenal, didn't they? They looked really comfortable, and there was 29 passes, you know, involved in this first goal. And I think at half-time we mentioned the midfield who are really key. You've got Jorginho at the base there, Declan Rice and Marino, and Thomas Partey, who was playing right back, but he was coming into good areas. And they get a really, you know, a good bit of space here when they open up Brighton.
They do, down that right-hand side, wasn't it? They sort of got down there. I think that come from a lot of Declan Rice as well, having the willingness to run in behind as he does there, to sort of to stretch Igor. That puts you the tendency for Brighton to go back, and then it's about can you get in behind again. I think that ball there was probably for Declan Rice, fell for Nwaneri, but
I'll just take that back because you've mentioned Van Hecke mentioned himself. Could maybe engage a little bit quicker. Can he get out once Nwaneri starts to make that run? He just delays a bit.
I think he's caught in 2 minds. I think if he goes too early, he's going to give Jesus space in the box. It might be easy for him to get the ball there, but I mean, what I loved about there was Nwaneri there picks up the ball and then he passes it and then he makes his run, doesn't he? Carries on running. It's a really brave, it's a really committed run. He's not just prepared to just stop, pass the ball, let the other players get on with it. He carries on going. This for me here, if we can pause it here, Joe, I think the gap appears. Look at the gap here. These are your 2 centre halves there and there. So the gap there is absolutely huge. I know they flick from a back 4 to a back 3 in and out of possession, but you just watch Igor here. He's your left-sided centre-half. He's obviously marking Declan Rice. We know what Brighton are like on the front foot. They're brave in attack as they are in defence. But just keep your eye on Igor here, the number 3 for Brighton.
I think it's worth also mentioning, Steve, there's your goal scorer here.
And
everybody's attracted to the ball. Declan Rice has almost attracted 3 players. You've got Marino, and then he realises there, doesn't he? Let's make that a different colour. It's not really orange, not red today either, but we know it's Arsenal.
You can look at all the body language from all the Brighton players. Every single one of them around the ball is all attracted to the ball. No one's really looking for the space.
For Igor, you want to focus. He just goes ball chasing, doesn't he?
He just goes ball chasing. For your left-sided centre-half, it's, you know, you can't do that against the top team, especially in them areas there, because if they get a chance to then attack at pace, they will pick you off. Superb finish.
What I like about this as well is, like, you can see this is a young player, and there's sometimes young players. I was that young player at times, and you see maybe somebody inside. You can John Barnes when I was playing, it was your hero, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to go through it, but maybe John Barnes is in a better position. Nwaneri never, ever changes his mind. He's looking at the goal all the time. Declan Rice is busting the gut to get alongside him, and it's as it opens up, I'm thinking, God, might he just play him here? But he doesn't. He knows he's there. Of course, he's got peripheral vision, but he just thinks, right, I've got one thing on my mind. I'm going to get my shot away. Keeper should do better. But it doesn't. You know, from his point of view, he's such an important player. You can that feeling of getting his second Premier League goal. He's obviously burst on the scene as a 15, 16-year-old, and now he's got a real opportunity, with Bukayo Saka been out for a long time, to really sort of not make a name for himself, but really establish himself in this team. And the fact that he got the goal, it was just a little bit surprising that he came off. Maybe there's something we don't know. He wants to save him, but they did lose a bit of impetus, because between him and Thomas Partey and Declan Rice in the first half, they were really covering that right area of the pitch really well, Steve, weren't they?
Yeah, I think with Nwaneri, he's got that confidence, not arrogance, because he probably has got the arrogance. You need that when you're coming through, especially at the Arsenal. I've been there myself, so you carry a lot of weight going through that academy. But then when you get in that first team, are you going to carry it on into the first team? And you said it'd be such easy opportunity to just slide it in and give it to your experienced pro. But no, we took it on, and so I hope he really goes on now and has a good couple of months, because he set the standard there. He set the bar that he needs to play at.
We've said it a couple of times now that the penalty incident was a bit unusual. So let's take a look at it and sort of, well, I was going to say pick it apart. There's not too much to pick apart about it.
There's not, but what I will say, when I think about Gabriel and Saliba, you always think about calmness, aggressive, and on the front foot, trying to win the ball. But when this sort of unfolds, there is a little bit of chaos about both of their defending. Gabriel gets himself in a little bit of a mess there. You can see he's going to try and get himself in a bit of getting broad with Minter there, and Minter wins the ball. You can see it's rash, he's all over the place. And then you can see then number 2, Saliba faces him up. That's all right, but then now he gets himself in a muddle. Then it's just reaction, and he sticks his head up trying to win the ball. It's chaotic, and it's not normally what we'd associate with them. Is it a penalty? I think absolutely. This is a really, you can see him there. Let's go back and that one, Steve. I'll give you a rock and a roll on that. Hold on, because I think this is it where you can see the contact.
I mean, you could argue that he's making a genuine challenge for the ball, and that it's a coming together. So.
But that's like anything, Kelly. You could say that if he was going for his feet and the ball was at João Pedro's feet. He's shown a little bit of Brazilian flair there, isn't he? As the ball's coming up, he's reading the bounce on the ball. He's just flicked it up. It's a genuine attempt to get the ball, but João Pedro there gets it before him. What they do really well, Arsenal, they get back in numbers, which they've done all game. But like Jamie said there, it's chaotic. I think what alarm bells rung was, I think there was maybe a 4-on-4, just a bit earlier than that, or a 4-on-3, where it was a case of, right, let's get as many bodies as we can behind the ball, not necessarily straight lines, let's get it around the ball. But yeah, a sloppy error.
There's contact, isn't there, Steve?
Yeah,
it's because it's unusual, because you don't normally see that clash of heads. But he's actually quite cute, what he does, João Pedro, because he flicks it up, and then he knows, as long as I can get just a little nudge on it, and I can feel that contact, and you can see Saliba bites on it, as a little head, tries to head it himself. He definitely knocks him to the floor. It's enough to send him down, and it was the right decision.
And Anthony Taylor gives himself a couple of seconds to make the decision and gives it. And then it's João Pedro himself who steps up to take the penalty.
Well, we knew he was desperate for a goal. He's wore the armband tonight. In the interview there, he said, he's always going to run hard, work hard for the team. He's not going to change how he is. You see there a little bit of gamesmanship there from Declan Rice, whether what he's shouting or who he's shouting at. But look at the focus there on João Pedro. He was so destined to score a goal, I believe, tonight, and fully deserved it as well.
Jorginho was quite lucky, wasn't he? Because if he catches him, that could have been enough. He'd been in trouble, could have got a red card.
Yeah, Veltman on right-hand side here. You can see it's a bit of a lash out there, and I think if there's more of a connection.
I'm not sure he deserves to go down.
It's a flick, isn't it? It's got sort of Beckham Argentina sort of flavours to
petulant,
it.
But still, they're moments where you need to compose yourself. This is, we're talking about a team here potentially challenging for the title. As individuals, as a collective, you need to compose yourself in their moments, because you can't start getting red cards and losing players.
What happened to them when they lost? They drew early in the season, didn't it? You get a red card with Declan Rice, and that can be the difference. But a point certainly wasn't what Arsenal were looking for tonight.
No, Arsenal looking for your time. It was a point in the end. Do you feel it could have been, should have been more?
Yeah, I think it should be more. And in the end, it's always, I'm standing here after the games, and I feel like I have to repeat myself all the time. And that's, of course, a disappointing feeling. So the first half, I think the first 20 minutes, we weren't that intense like we wanted to play. And then after the goal, I thought it was much better. But the big word for us is being more consistent. So trying to play the identity, want to play for 90 minutes, and then hopefully we get the results what we expect.
Jan-Paul van Hecke said something similar in his interview about those moments in games and about players learning how to manage them. What is it that you were looking for?
Yeah, I think we have the similar mindset. So of course, when we look at the chance from Arsenal, they shot one time on the goal, I think, during the game. Of course, they were always dangerous with their set pieces, but in general, there was one chance out of the game. We weren't able to defeat it because of small details, because of losing the man in the back, and then we had to invest a lot to come back. We come back, but then we were not clean enough in the final third. We had a big chance with Simon, a big chance with Mitte, and we weren't able to score. And I think against Arsenal, you have to use these momentums to win these games, and today we weren't able to do it.
Fabian, when I was at the training ground a few months ago with you, you sat down and you spoke to me about the fitness levels of this team compared to your previous teams that you've had success with. Where you said at the time that they wasn't really where you wanted them to be. We're halfway through the season now. Are they where you want them to be now?
I think that's maybe one of the reasons why we're not able to play consistently in 90 minutes. So, of course, the game we want to play is intense. The game needs to be intense if you want to press high, and if you want to attack the box, you need to invest in deep runs, and therefore you have to run a lot, and you have to do a lot of runnings and high-speed meters and a lot of sprints to do this. And I think we are by far not there where we should be, but it's a process. We need for this game a lot of physicality, and I think in some moments of the games we were struggling. Also today, we were not able to hold this physical level for 90 minutes. The same was against Villa. So therefore, we are still working on it. We have to use the training time to improve. Of course, during this tough and busy period where we have a lot of games, it's not that easy to make the players fitter. But in the end, I'm sure that it's a long-term process, and we try to go hard, that we are physically ready for 90 minutes.
Fabian, you made two very brave substitutions at half-time. You brought Minte, as you say, and Ruta, and they gave you a real energy and impetus. You ended up almost with a 4 up front, really asked a lot of questions of Arsenal. What were you looking for your team to get from making those substitutions?
Physicality, intensity. I think both players, they have this physicality inside of their body, and then we expected Arsenal to press more man-to-man. In the first half, I think they give us +1 in the build-up, and then they changed to man-to-man. So we wanted to go more vertically, and also used our physicality, our speed with the front four, and that was the idea.
It's quite what did you make to the penalty? It was we sort of described it as an unusual one, but we all felt unanimous in here that it was a penalty. What was your view on it?
I didn't see it again, but if you say it's a penalty, then I'm sure it's one.
You'll take it. and a good finish from a player that obviously needed a goal.
Now I see it, I think it's a penalty. Yeah.
What about, we enjoyed your, well, I'm sure you didn't enjoy the react, but that you had a really good chance with Minte just coming in, very similar to Waneri's chance, or goal in the first half. You felt he made, what was you looking for here? Maybe the cross, or were you thinking maybe to shoot?
I have to ask him. Then I can answer the question. But these are the things, like, that's a big chance. We have to be much more precise, much more clean with these chances. And then we can't stand here after the game and complain about the result, because we are responsible for this result today. If we miss chances like this, I think in the first half we had also one big with Simon Adingra. And therefore we have to accept it and keep moving on and working harder than we did before.
Fabian, thanks so much for your time today. Good to talk to you.
Thanks. See you. Bye-bye.
Well done,
Bye.
Fabian.
Thank you very much. You talked about that chance for Minte. You said, look, I'll have to speak to him and ask him what he intended to do. When you compare that to the chance that Nwaneri took and scored, is that what Minte should have done? Were there other options for him? Did he take the right option? What do you think?
I think it's difficult. I think they're similar positions, aren't they?
Very.
Jamie, on the pitch. These are just defining moments, aren't they? Whether they're going to be, whether it's going to go in the back of the net, it's decision making, critical times. The game's at 1-1, but we can see the build up here, and they get into that position again. It's down that right hand side, but look how many Brighton bodies there are, sort of in there. And I think this is what just distracts him, because there's a lot of bodies. I mean, look at the two players there actually collide into either post.
Yeah.
And it might not be
so
about
unlucky.
making the right decision. It might be about making a clean decision, which is why he talked about that kind of cleanness of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, Kelly. Look how close they are to getting on the end of this one. Like, just inches away. That goes in. It's a I just try and run it as slow as I can there, as it comes across the face. And then you get a man at the back post. Maybe Mitoma can attack it with a bit more venom. But he obviously takes a different approach. He's probably thinking, I'm not going to shoot here, and just plays it across just for someone to come and tap it in. It's unlucky, and you can see the frustration.
I think it's one of them. If he shoots and it saves in hindsight, they'd be screaming at him to say, why have you not squared the ball? So I think he's had a little glance up in that replay there. He's had a little glance up. He's seen that there's bodies in there, and it's about then can you just produce that quality at the critical moment?
It was very unlucky.
And you asked him about the fitness levels of the squad, because that's his key, or one of his key priorities. Well, what do you think in terms of the performances, in terms of the run that Brighton have been on? How much is that a contributing factor, do you think, that they're not quite where he wants them to be?
Well, it's a big factor for him because that's, as you said there, I think in that interview and every time I've heard him speak, intensity. That is the one word that always comes out. I don't know whether that's good news or bad news for these players because they're going to be certainly getting fitter as the months go on and into next season as well. But the style of play that he wants, and especially when they go into a mid block and when they attack, he wants them to attack at pace. You know, everyone go, leave nothing in the tank. Defensively, when we're going to defend high, fullbacks, centre backs, we're going to go in, we're going to go aggressive, be intense again. So I think it's a big factor of where they need to be, and they're just off them levels at the moment.
10 draws so far this season for Brighton. And he said there, I feel like I'm repeating myself after every game. He knows that they're growing into games, that maybe he makes changes at half-time that mean they have better second halves, and we've seen that ourselves a few times. What do you think that they can achieve when he looks at that? What do you think is the next step for them so that he's not coming out and saying the same thing after every game?
Yeah, I think you're never as far away as what you think sometimes, you know. And I look at, you know, even players like Mitoma perhaps hasn't hit the levels that we'd all expect to associate with him because he's such a talented player. João Pedro I think he's a top player as well, hasn't produced the goals, but I think now he's got that one today, albeit a penalty. I think he could go on a bit of a run now. In midfield, I like them. You know, they've got Belieber, they've got a couple of injuries. Hincham's been injured as well for a little while, so maybe they haven't got the opportunities to chop and change it as what you'd like. You know, no Dunk today. The other set, you know, Welbeck's obviously a big blow for them. So they have had injuries, you know. And as I say, I think it's such a good side to watch. It's so difficult to go there, you know, especially in those evening games. They play a really good style of football. And, you know, Steve's now, you're spot on. They play at such a high energy. They're a really enjoyable side to watch.
Yeah, I think the key for Brighton is they want to progress every season. You know, that's the remit. You know, with this squad they're always, or this team, they're always going to be in the game. You know, their body language, the way that they come out, even there, 1-0 down at half-time, he makes brave substitutions. He's probably told them what to do at half-time. They're on the front foot. We've seen them numerous times in the second half come out, take the game to the opposition. Whatever game Brighton are in, whether they're 1-0 up, 2-0 up, 3-0 down, they're always going to be in the game. They'll always be looking for a win.
And that's what Arsenal...
Yeah, well, while you try and figure out what to do, let's get some post-match reaction from Jean-Paul Van Hecke, who joins us at the Amex Stadium. Very well done on that hard-fought point in the end. Is that how you saw it today?
Yeah, in the end, I think yes. Of course, we wanted to win now, and yeah, we tried today. I think we had opportunities. I think we conceded a goal, way too easy, and then, of course, it's hard. Proud of the boys. We fight it for our lives, and then we come back and we try to score another one, and then in the end, you need to be happy with a point.
Jan, it was like a chalk and cheese performance from Brighton, first and second half. So, what was behind that improvement?
To be fair, I think it's already the whole season. You see, we do well for halves or 30 minutes, and we've been not consistent for the 90 minutes. And then, you see, it's tough to play in the Premier League and to win games. I think you need to be there for 90 minutes and then you can win games. Of course, Arsenal is a really strong team, and then you should be happy with a point. But in the end, I think we should be better for the whole 90 minutes.
Jan, it's Glenn. I just wanted to ask you, obviously you've drawn the most games in the Premier League, 10 in total. What can you do to just change that slightly and change those draws into wins?
To be fair, I think there are small margins. I think it's also managing the game sometimes. I think we've been up most of the games and then we draw, or most of the time we draw. And it's also we are a really young team. I think if you look to our average age, it's 22 or 23. So I think we all need to adapt and do better and improve. And I think consistency is the word. But it's quite hard sometimes because we have such young players. So but I think you cannot say we don't give everything. But sometimes you need a bit more than that. You need experience as well. And I think that comes by games and hopefully soon in the future.
That age makes you one of the more experienced members of the squad now, doesn't it, Jan?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm 24. before the game, we see the teams, the lineup, and then you see the age, and all 27, 28, 30, 29, and then sometimes there's a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old, but most of the time 29 are in the prime, and then you look our age and all young boys. But to be fair, we fight for our lives today, and you cannot ask for more.
And just finally, because of these number of draws, I mean, if there are any frustrations amongst the Brighton fans, I suppose it is certainly fair few new players still trying to adapt to his ways, right?
Yeah, also, and I think the manager is doing a brilliant job. He's a really good manager, top manager. So, but yeah, of course, everyone will say we spend a lot of money in the summer. But if you look to it, they all come from other leagues and they need to adapt to the Premier League. Not easy to play, all young guys. So a few players left, and I think it's around 700 games Premier League we lost, and yeah, we get 0 Premier League games back for it. So we need time, and I'm quite sure the club will be there in a few years.
Yeah, and a point against one of the title challenges is no mean feat. Well done today.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Jan-Paul van Hecke, centre-half for Brighton. OK, more reaction to come then from Matchday London.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. We tried everything to win. Unfortunately, we could not. But this is part of the games. We have to do everything right if we want to win. And at the end of the day, we have to, keep competing to the end.
Big decision was the penalty. There was a clear clash of heads. But what was your view on the decision to point to the spot and the view of the dressing room?
Well, for me personally, I think it can go both ways. Unfortunately, it went against us, so we just have to accept it and move on and, prepare for our next game.
Before the equaliser, given the control the team had, should you have tested the keeper more and should you have won it with your head late on?
Yeah, I think we had a couple of chances that we could have converted, but as I said today, it didn't happen, and we are very, very frustrated. We have to, take this game away and focus on our next game.
Yeah, so he says he's disappointed. So that's, Ian, 2 wins and a draw for Arsenal since Saka's injury layoff.
Yeah.
A decent return, or were you hoping for more, expecting more or not?
No, there's a decent return. I think when you look at it, obviously it's disappointing not to get the 3 points because it felt like it was in our hands to do it. You have to give Brighton credit for the way they played in the second half, but I think, again, getting the point is still going well. We're still playing well, still in all the competitions. The main thing now is like he said there, Thomas Partey, is that this one's gone. Now you just think of the next game now.
Yeah.
Just got to keep going.
Well, let's see if the Arsenal boss, Mikel Arteta, is also similarly philosophical. Here he is now.
Mikel, a point today. You had to grind it out. How do you feel about the point and the performance?
Yeah, well, disappointed because we want to win the game, and we started the game with some good actions, a really good goal, and we knew that it was going to be a really competitive and challenging game, especially as well for the players that we have lost. But we competed. It wasn't our best day, especially with the ball in second half. We gave so many simple balls away that didn't really allow us to dominate the game, and then very disappointed as well with the way that is given the penalty. Very disappointed.
Yeah, your thoughts on the penalty, because it is an unusual penalty.
I've never seen it in my life. And Saliba touches the ball, so, yeah.
No penalty for you then?
For me, no, clear, no. Yeah.
In terms of creativity, you mentioned giving away the ball a few times, but in terms of how the team created chances, what do you feel was lacking? Because there was a lack of fluidity compared to other matches.
Yeah, because we lost too many simple things that we have to do much better in the areas that Arteta is going to allow you the next phase, and we didn't do that. We play every 3 days as well. I understand that I cannot for sure fault the effort, the intensity, how much we want it, but in terms of the quality that we deliver and the consistency and doing the simple things that have to be right against a really good team, today wasn't to the standards that requires to win the game with margins.
So he said something similarly to what we've already, I suppose, had a conversation about, which is that penalty incident, something that's very rare.
Yeah.
And, in all your years of playing, we've hardly ever seen it.
Yeah, it is. And again, he's flicked it up there. He's making a genuine attempt for the ball there.
Glenn's wincing.
I can't, and I think that when you look at, I think he's caught him. Obviously, he's caught him there, but then he took the penalty, didn't he, Pedro?
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't have thought so the way he's on the floor there. You know what I mean? You'd have thought it was a proper Scottish headbutt he's just got there. It's just a little clip where Saliba's trying to head the ball.
OK, on a positive note, Arsenal may have fallen short, but Nwaneri shines again tonight.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, brilliant. Delighted for him. Put him into another game where he needs to come up with a business because he's replacing Saka, and he did it. Scored a good goal for us.
And Brighton showing promise after their dip?
Yeah, always shown promise. They've got so much potential in that squad. It's exciting.
Yeah.